everyone and welcome back to Fire Emblem Heroes. Today we are here for a new showcase featuring a character that is quite later into the year compared to when she released, Years Kvasir. She's a character from the New Year Vanheim gacha that isn't currently on rerun, at least when I recorded the video. And if you want to gather, remember whenever the gacha rerun of the New Year comes around, so towards the end of the year, or whenever there are the double heroes for limited seasonal heroes. But other than that, she's the last of the Seider line of characters that I needed to cover. So all Kvasirs, Seiders and Gulveigs are on the channel with this showcase. Woo! That's a nice, let's say, record for the channel. Anyway, today we are here to let you know everything that you need to know about Years Kvasir, so animation, dialogue, base build, and finally, in battle, the gameplay showcase. So enjoy the ride as usual. I will be back with you later on into the build showcase for Years Kvasir.
Someone gave me a pouch. There was money inside. You seem enthusiastic. I never want to lose today. They call this a kimono. It is tight. Everyone is so excited. Even as the years change, I will remain here with you. Why celebrate a day that comes every year? I don't understand. They call this a kimono. It is tight.
Okay, here we are with the Years Kvasir build showcase. So, the first question that everyone is probably asking is how does she differ with the base Kvasir? Because if you guys remember, base Kvasir released in November. This Kvasir released basically a month after, slightly more, but generally speaking, the release timing wasn't really that different. Both are limited, so both should be good enough without one being an upgrade to the other. And I would say that they do the same thing but in different ways. So the first change that you will notice is that she's not a cavalry, she's infantry. So this comes obviously with a few noticeable differences, which is she doesn't have the cavalry weaknesses anymore, but she doesn't have the same movement that cavalry gives her. So when it comes to the effect of light this time that gives her warp, or that gives another action to an ally, that is relevant to consider because, in my experience, the Cavalry Kvasir has a better role as a support compared to this one, which is more of a glass cannon, so to speak, but not really, because you will see in the gameplay showcase that she can actually take quite a few hits if the enemy doesn't have anti-DR. So in terms of stats, we have normal HP, not that high attack, by this a flaw, so generally speaking it will be towards 60, which is pretty high. Then we have very high speed, defenses are pretty average, not bad, not good. Especially defense, it is kinda low, since this is an asset, so technically it will be around 20. So make sure not to put her against melee characters, because while she can take a hit or two, it is not always guaranteed that she will survive. So let's start with the weapon. Faded Paper Fan. Special trigger acceleration, very needed, considering she is relying on her special once again. If you initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, she gets a boost to +5 to all stats except HP, and then reduces foe speed and rest during combat by 20% of her speed, so you do want to stack on speed ideally. And then, this is one major effect that differentiates her from the normal Kvasir. Reduces the percentage of foe non-special reduced damage by X skills by 50% during combat. So, one major flaw that both Gulveig and Kvasir, the base version at least, have is that they cannot reduce damage reduction by their base kit, so they do need an extra skill. Meanwhile, this Kvasir, New Year Kvasir, implements an anti-damage reduction on her weapon. This is a pretty significant change that puts this Kvasir more into a glass cannon player face DPS character scenario. So you are already seeing the main divergence of the two Kvasir here. The base one is a better support due to the higher mobility. This one is a better DPS due to the anti-DR and, as we will see later, some other not really that huge differences, but still pretty good for a full DPS version of the Kvasir we know and love. Then we have, if unit first combat is initiated by unit or first combat initiated by foe, that turn reduces damage from foe first attack by 70% during combat, the Gulveig effect. Pretty significant obviously, because 70% damage reduction means that you take basically no damage. Obviously this is DR, so if you have an enemy with anti-DR, doesn't really matter all that much, but if the enemy doesn't have anti-DR, then Kvasir will probably survive. Finally we have the last effect. If unit initiates combat or unit is within 2 spaces of an ally after combat, if unit attacked, inflicts status on target and foes within 2 spaces of target, preventing counterattacks through their next action. Pretty good effect, also known as Flash. I am starting to learn how they are called, which makes it so that Kvasir allies can attack safely, which is pretty helpful. But as you will see later, Kvasir can either decide to attack first or last, doesn't really change much. This effect is just niche depending on how you build her. For example, I gave her Blade Session because in my opinion, for light this time, it is better to trigger it not with the warp effect in this Kvasir case, but with the refresh action effect. So you do want an ally to attack before Kvasir to give this effect on them by using light this time. So, light this time, which is similar to the one that we've seen in air-based version, boosts the damage by 60% of foe attack when special triggers, which is pretty good as usual, because she has a very high attack, if I didn't have a flaw at least, so this will always hit for a lot. Neutralizes effects that inflict a special cooldown charge -X on unit during combat, so guard doesn't do much against her. And if the unit initiates combat, unit special triggered and unit survive, we have 2 effects. If there is an ally who has already acted during this player phase, and if there are multiple, is the one with the highest HP, she refreshes that ally turn, so that ally can act again. If there isn't any ally that acted during that turn, basically if those conditions aren't met, then she gives herself Times Gate, which is basically a warp effect. It is a very good warp effect, by the way, because as you've seen in my videos, it is the one that New Year Seider gives with her duo skill, so it is very important. So, as I told you, her mobility here makes it so that those effects are a little bit harder to work with, but I do think that the dance one at least should be easy to pull off, especially if you work with a team that is all infantry, then even easier. Then we have Flash Sparrow. This basically gives her an easier access to her special, so it is a very welcome addition, and also attack speed +7, which is something that she needs since she scales of attack, and she has a speed check to trigger a special acceleration. Lul and speed res 4, which works very well with the already seen reduction of speed and res based on her speed on her weapon, and also denies the bonuses to speed and res of the foe during combat. Very good as usual. Finally, we have Infantry Null Follow 4, which gives a null follow up to herself, and also another warp effect. So, in the case you want to make sure that Kvasir triggers her special even easier, you can always use this warp effect, provided that she's in range. Probably the main issue that I have with it. The time gate one is way better. So, what do I think about this Kvasir? The main issue that she has is obviously glass cannon survivability, so without the 70% damage reduction, she will probably, more than likely, die. But, aside from that, she is a more DPS-oriented version compared to base Kvasir, which thanks to her cavalry and higher mobility that she has, thanks to her horse, I guess, it is a little bit better. Still, the difference is mainly around the anti-DR that this Kvasir have. It is also worth to note that compared to base Kvasir, which has a 50% of speed and res reduction on her weapon, this one is 20%. So that is also worth to take into consideration because it is slightly better. But at the same time, base Kvasir inflicts panic instead of inflicting flash. So those also are a difference. So when it comes to the question which is best, I can only say that both are good. That's what I'm trying to get at. You want a unit that is more oriented on support and is also a good DPS, you have base Kvasir. You want a unit that is very good at DPS and also has slightly support, you have New Year Kvasir. You can use both, you can use one, they both work very good. I do not believe that one is a power creep over the other, because they do slightly different things, and I do think that the movement change can be significant to that. But anyway, that's it for this build showcase. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the last of the Vanaheim characters of Seider Trio, at least that I had to cover. Finally I did it. So for now, enjoy the gameplay showcase where you will see her tank a Sheds fully built, which is pretty impressive. For me, this is it. Thank you very much for watching. As usual, remember to like and sub support the channel. If you want to support the channel more, remember to use the super thanks feature to a comment to your choosing below your favorite Fire Emblem Heroes video. For now, enjoy the gameplay showcase.
Get us there. I feel so energized.
Forward.
As you say. Excuse me? I'll get us there. It's quite hot. Have to keep swimming. What fun! Excuse me?
As you say. A new future.
What shall we do? I feel so energized! Here we go! I pray for your safety. It's quite hot. As you say.
You're done!
Forward. To years past.
What fun! I'll get us there.
As you say.